So welcome everybody to another update video, and I've had a bit of a blowout on Imprint films because ever since I bought the first few from them, I've just gotten more and more from them because they generally do release films that just don't get released on Blu-ray here in the UK. So yeah, I have bought 2 box sets and 6 single releases, so technically 14 films in total. But yeah, we're going to look at the single releases first. Now, just bear in mind, not all of these are new. Some of these got released in 2021. The first of these single releases, I think, got released in 2019. Yeah, I think so. No, actually 2021. So, yeah, they're not all new, but they are new to me in terms of owning them and seeing them, in fact, because only a few of these I've actually watched. So, yeah, the first of the single releases is from 1950, and it is Outrage. Now, this is a really rather sensitive film in terms of depicting sexual assault or abuse, or if you want to use the R word, rape, then, yeah, not the first film to deal with that subject matter, but it's definitely the first film directed by a woman to deal with that subject matter, which makes all of the difference because it's a lot more sensitive, it's a lot more, you know, well-directed in terms of depicting the after effects of the act, because you don't actually see it happen, but you definitely see all of the after effects. And yeah, it's directed by Ida Lupino, who's been in several films I've really rather enjoyed. This is only the second film of hers that I've seen that she's directed, but she also directed The Hitchhiker, which is also a really rather good film. But yeah, this is definitely a far deeper and a far more effective film in, you know, in terms of being seen. So yeah, as per usual with these releases, you get a nice slip cover with it, which isn't, you know, they aren't the toughest of things, but they are well done. And yeah, then you get the different kind of artwork on the outside, and then the single disc on the inside. So yeah, you don't get much with these Imprint films in terms of, you know, other extras that are not on the disc, but regardless, this is a 2K scan of the original negative from Paramount Pictures, and there was audio commentary by a film critic that was made for this release. So yeah, still really rather good in that regard. And then one film I haven't seen is Bloody Sunday from 2002, directed by Paul Greengrass, and yeah, basically depicts the single day on 30th of January 1972 when 13 people were massacred by the British Army. And yeah, can't say I'm looking forward to seeing it because it's obviously a very, very, you know, difficult thing to be depicting, but I imagine it's been done in a very, very well done way. And yeah, it also stars James Nesbitt, Tim Pigott-Smith, and Nicholas Farrell. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing this because yeah, it's a subject matter that, quite frankly, still hasn't been properly resolved to this day, despite happening 50 years ago. So yeah, there's the original artwork there, I believe. And there's the disc. So yeah, looking forward to seeing it. I've heard great things about it. Bunch of extras on it, but I'm not going to go through it. But it has had a 1080p high definition presentation for that film. And then from 1962, Damn the Defiant, also known as H.M.S. Defiant, depending where you are. But yeah, 1962, kind of like, you know, warship drama kind of film, because basically, a commander of the British warship H.M.S. Defiant, the humane Crawford, strives to maintain order throughout the ship against the ceaseless brutality of sadistic first mate Scott Paget. After Crawford is injured in a fiery battle, angry seaman Vizard leads the crew to mutiny. So, yeah, again, looking forward to seeing this, especially since it's got Alec Guinness in it. I've enjoyed plenty of films in recently. Dick Bogard and Anthony Quayle have been in good stuff before. And it's also CinemaScope, which usually means that the films look great. So, yeah, again, another film I'm really looking forward to seeing. So, yeah, it's got plenty of extras on it as well. A couple free, you know, extras on it that were made for this release. And again, a 1080p high definition presentation. So, yeah, this should hopefully be good. It's also directed by Lewis Gilbert, who did 3 of the, you know, the more bombastic James Bond films, You Only Live Twice, Spy Who Loved Me, and Moonraker. So yeah, hopefully we're going to get the same kind of level of, you know, big production level in that film. Then we have, from 1962 as well, The Counterfeit Traitor, starring William Holden and Lily Palmer. William Holden is fantastic in this. He's easily one of my favourite classic actors. And yeah, not much in the way of extras on this. You've only got an audio commentary basically on this from this year, but you do have a documentary about William Holden that was released in 1989. So the fact that we've been able to find that is pretty good. And yeah, it's quite a long film, 2 hours 21. So it's not a film that's going to rush by in a hurry, but it makes use of that runtime in pretty fine style. As yeah, William Holden basically plays a guy that is selling oil to the Germans, despite living in a country that is neutral. And then he's asked to basically spy on the Germans and get as much information as possible. Currently, he's reluctant to do it, but as he starts to see what the Germans are actually doing during that time period, he becomes more and more jaded and more wanting to, you know, do the right thing, which is, yeah, really, really well executed. And then from 1961, we have Barabbas. Now, I'm not usually into films that are dealing with, you know, religion or religious, you know, the religion in the past or anything like this, but yeah, basically this is about a guy that is spared crucifixion when the Jews choose Jesus of Nazareth in his place. Murderer, thief, Barabbas spends his haunted days as a criminal, a prisoner, a gladiator, a man searching for faith who must confront his inner demons to win his freedom. So yeah, I'm not religious myself, but I have found some religious films to be really, really well done. And this is directed by Richard Fleischer, who's done plenty of great films before that I have seen. So yeah, and it's again got another couple of extras on it that have been done for this release. And yeah, there's the artwork on the case itself. So yeah, this is another long one, 2 hours 17. So it's only 4 minutes shorter than The Counterfeit Traitor, but yeah, I imagine it's done really, really well. And yeah, you got Anthony Quinn, Jack Palance, and Ernest Borgnine in it, and yeah, they're all three actors that I've enjoyed stuff from before. And finally, in terms of these single releases, we've got from 1958, A Night to Remember, directed by, who was the director by? Roy Ward Baker, who I've seen stuff from before. It's got Kenneth More in it, as well as Honor Blackman, Michael Goodlife, and David McCallum. And yeah, even though it's not accurate in terms of the depiction of the Titanic sinking, you know, it doesn't split in half or anything like that, like it does in the 1997 James Cameron version, it's still a far better effort just in terms of, you know, depicting the characters on the ship. I think it's, in terms of characterization, is a lot better, because obviously with James Cameron's version it mainly focuses on the two leads, who aren't really historically accurate or anything like that, whereas it's more of the case that the characters are more focused on this, as well as obviously the sinking itself, which is really well done for the time, quite frankly. And yeah, this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extras on here that have been done for this release. So, you know, film critics like Kim Newman are talking about it, and then you got audio commentary, and yeah, you've even got an interview with the camera assistant, which is remarkable given how long ago this came out. But yeah, much prefer this to the 1997 version, and yeah, it's just a great film in its own right, quite frankly. The first truly great disaster film. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing this again. Again, it's got a 1080p presentation on that. So yeah, right now let's look at the box sets. Now the first box set, I will admit, I kind of paid over odds for, because it was well out of print by the time I got round to Imprint themselves. And I also already have 2 of these in here in one of the Columbia Noir box sets. But because I bought the second one already, it seemed a bit stupid just to have the second one and not buy the first. So yeah, it's Essential Film Noir Collection number 1. Pretty thick and beefy box set. And yeah, it's got Framed from 1947, which we've already had in one of the Columbia Noir sets. Alias Nick Beale from 1949. Detective Story from 1951. And The Garment Jungle from 1957, which we've already had before. But yeah, still, the 2 films that I hadn't had before are really, really great, quite frankly. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing the other 2 that I've already seen before, but seeing them on this presentation, because they might well be a bit better. But yeah, the first of those is Framed. So Glenn Ford, we've talked about this before in another video, I'm sure, but yeah, still a really, really good film, and I'm, as a big fan of Glenn Ford, I really do enjoy that. So yeah, and there's the disc itself. And then we have Alias Nick Beale. with Ray Milland, and this is fantastic. This does the film noir kind of aspects, you know, the shadows, the lighting, the gritty crime aspects to it, the corrupt politicians, all of that kind of stuff, but it adds a mystery horror element to it, because Ray Milland plays Nick Beale, or does he, who has a kind of, you know, supernatural element to him, because is he the devil or not is the real question that is put onto this, because he seems to appear out of nowhere, he's in rooms that he really shouldn't be in, he's able to manipulate people to his will, and yeah, it's really well done. So yeah, highly recommend checking this out, especially if you're a Ray Milland fan, who you might not have seen him being in an antagonistic role all that much, because he generally didn't do very many antagonistic roles, but yeah, it's really well done. Only clocks in at an hour 32, and yeah, nice 1080p representation of it, so yeah, well worth seeking out if you can get that. Now, I just remembered actually that I haven't seen the second of the two that I hadn't already seen in this, so yeah, but it's still detective story with Kirk Douglas. Still need to get around to this, but Kirk Douglas, Eleanor Parker, and William Bendix, and yeah, 1080p presentation, hour 43 from 1951, and yeah, it is supposedly really rather good. So yeah, it's another you know, film noir that I'm really looking forward to seeing, because film noir, quite frankly, has become the dominant genre in the last couple of years for me, quite frankly. And finally, the one that, again, that I've already seen, The Garment Jungle. Solid film, not my favourite from the Columbia Noir collection by any means, and therefore by no means my favourite from this collection, but still, a solid release and another good effort all round, especially since it stars Lee J. Cobb, who we've talked about before. We talked about him in the Columbia Noir No. 5 collection, because he's in a couple of those films. So yeah, and yeah, it's also got Richard Boone and Robert Loggia. So yeah, pretty good film, but like I said, not my favourite from either this collection or the Columbia Noir collection. But Essential Film Noir Collection 2, all four of these I hadn't seen before. I have seen all four of them now, and yeah, really, really good release. Got a little bit of a mark on it that I have only just seen, but regardless, this has all come all the way from Australia, so quite frankly, the fact that any of it is intact is a surprise, quite frankly. So yeah, we have, oh, I don't have the card on this, unfortunately, but yeah, we have Hollywood Story from 1951, stars Richard Conte, and yeah, it's directed by William Castle, no less, who we already have the William Castle box set up there. And yeah, this is the first non-horror film that I have seen from him, and it's a pretty damn good effort, to be honest. It really does get across the whole 1920s silent film era that is being pulled into the 1950s via a director-producer that wants to tell the story of a guy that was murdered well back then. And yeah, he ends up pulling up some truths, and someone doesn't particularly like the fact that he's doing this, so murder is going to be committed. So yeah, really well done, really enjoyable. Not my favourite from William Castle by any means, but as far as, you know, his non-horror films go, just realised I've said I've not seen a non-horror from him, and yet I've seen Zardos and not Zardos, Zat or whatever it's called. Basically, there was two in the second volume of the other box set of William Castle that weren't horror but were pretty bad. So yeah, but this is definitely the best of the non-horrors that he's done. Then from 1953, directed by John H.M.S, who I've just realised we're not seeing anything from, but it does star Marla Powers, who was also, was she in Outrage? I just realised that I might well have just seen her in something else. Yes, Marla Powers. So yeah, just realised that I've just seen a second one from her recently as well. So yeah, she was great in Outrage, and she's just as good in here. And yeah, it's a pretty damn good solid effort, to be honest. City that never sleeps. So yeah, basically a cop is trying to track down a mad killer who's running berserk on the streets of Chicago. From the honky-tonks to the penthouses, the creeps, the hoods come out to war with the city. And yeah, really rather solid effort. Now, my least favourite effort out of these four is this, Plunder of the Sun, from 1953 as well. which is despite the fact it stars Glenn Ford. But yeah, it just doesn't quite have enough urgency to its whole proceedings. But I do like the Mexican setting, and Jon Favreau does a decent enough directing. But yeah, definitely could be a lot better, considering, you know, it's got a decent enough premise to it. And yeah, Glenn Ford, although not the best that he's been in a film, it's definitely still just as enjoyable. But yeah, it's about an American insurance adjuster who is unwittingly becomes involved in archaeological artifact smuggling and treasure hunting in Mexico. Sounds more exciting than it is, but it's still a decent enough effort. Sorry for the dog barking in the background there, if you can hear that. And finally, from 1954, only clocking in an hour 20, so it's the shortest of these, I believe. Yeah, it never seats to an hour 53, hour 30 even. Plunder of the Sun was an hour 21. Whoopsie. And Hollywood Story was an hour 16. So yeah, Hollywood Story is actually the shortest. It never felt that short. It felt really rather well fleshed out. But yeah, an hour 20. Private Health 36. Again, another person that we've already talked about. Ida Lupino is in this one. And yeah, also stars Steve Cochran. And it's directed by Don Siegel, no less, who also went on to do all of those films in the 70s with Clint Eastwood. And yeah, he also did one of the Columbia Noir ones as well. I think he did The Lineup, I believe. So yeah, a good solid effort from him. About two detectives who steal a wad of hot money from a dead man. Their plans of an easy life unravel when the dead man's partner shows up. So yeah, really well done. Gets across the whole morality of, you know, whether or not something like this should be happening. And yeah, good cast and solid direction from Don Siegel. So yeah, whole bunch of films there. And yeah, definitely hopefully a worthwhile additions to my collection, because obviously still need to see one from the first box set, and still need to see Bloody Sunday, Damn the Defiant, and Barabbas, but I'm confident that they will be all good. So yeah, so thanks for watching. Hope you've seen some of these films, and if you haven't, then the ones that I have seen I definitely do recommend. But nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.